Liam glanced over at his father, who was once again trying to have a serious talk with him. The young man was confused about what Nathan wanted, as the man shouted loudly enough to bring Liam's mother running into the living room. "You don't understand anything. Do you even know how hard it is to earn money? Instead, you're out partying all night without a thought for your future." Nathan continued to scold. Liam lowered his head, pretending to fully understand his father, but all that occupied his mind were the memories of last night's fun at the club. He would gladly relive that party. "Dear, please calm down. I think Liam understands everything," said Chloe. She often stepped in to protect her son from Nathan's frequent tirades, feeling that he treated their child unfairly and vented his frustrations on him. On the flip side, Nathan had a point. Lately, Liam hadn't been valuing his parents' support at all, constantly hanging out and ignoring the reality that he would soon need to work and take care of himself. Liam stood there, head bowed, until his father finally ran out of steam and stopped shouting. "Can I go to sleep now?" Liam asked, a smile creeping onto his face. "No, just look at him. I've been scolding him for an hour, and he's treating it like a joke," Nathan said, getting worked up again. "This is all your upbringing, Chloe. It's unbelievable. Last week he crashed an expensive car. How lucky he was that he didn't hit anyone. Now you'll be driving your old car," he added. Nathan stopped shouting at him. "He understands everything and will figure it out. Let him go to sleep. He'll manage, I promise you." "I'm in shock. You won't get any more money from me, Liam, until you find a job. Then we'll talk." Nathan waved his hand and retreated to his study. Chloe winked at her son, signaling that it was time to head to his room and finally get some sleep. Liam looked closely at his mother before going to his room. Finally able to breathe, Chloe fixed her hair and made her way to her husband's study. "Nathan, let's have a serious conversation. There's nothing to talk about. You're helping our little son in every way. Just look at what he's become. I'm ashamed to look at him and embarrassed to admit he's my child." Nathan shot back. "Nathan, come down," Chloe pleaded. "If you're here to talk to me about Liam, then the conversation is over. I won't give him another penny. When will he start earning a living for himself? He's already a grown man, yet he knows nothing, especially since he's still in university." "I know how he's doing at university," Chloe replied. "I just haven't told you. They've already called me about it. Please give him another chance. He will definitely improve. Your shouting won't solve anything. Look at him. He's still a child. Remember when you were his age? You used to hang out all night without a care." "That's not true. At 22, I was working in a factory in my spare time." Chloe gently stroked her husband's hand, trying to persuade him to be kinder to their son. She was exhausted from the constant family arguments. Nathan had devoted nearly half his life to his successful business, earning him a respected name in the city, while Chloe had only ever been a housewife, never working a day in her life. During their arguments, Nathan would sometimes say that Liam looked a lot like his mother in that regard. Liam was now in his third year of university, fully supported by his parents. The news that his father wouldn't give him any more money scared him a bit, but he hoped that, like always, his father's anger would fade completely within a few hours. However, this time everything turned out differently than Liam had anticipated. After 5 hours, Liam woke up and made his way to the kitchen. His mother was there as usual, making some pies. "Mom, where's Dad?" he asked. "He's in his office. Do you need something from him?" "I'd steer clear of him today if I were you. He's so angry I'm scared too." "Yes, I need some money. I want to go to a tourist camp with my friends this weekend." "Oh, Liam, honestly, I'm not sure about that. I don't think your father will give you any more money." "How can that be? I'm still studying and can't physically go to work. I don't know. Do you want to talk to him yourself?" "I already talked to him today, and it didn't end well." Liam scratched his head, deep in thought, as he headed toward his father's office. Nathan was sitting at the table, sorting through some documents and pretending not to notice when Liam entered. "Dad, let's talk calmly without shouting or arguing." "Fine. Let's talk. I'm listening, Nathan replied. I think you're going a little too far. I haven't done anything to deserve you taking away my pocket money. Do you seriously believe your behavior is normal and that you haven't done anything wrong? Nathan asked. Look, I'm paying for your education. I bought you a car that you crashed. I provide you with a place to sleep and the food you eat. I'm tired of you not valuing anything. I'm telling you again, you won't get a penny from me anymore. Go get a job. Do what you want. If I find out your mother is giving you money, I'll kick both of you out onto the street. You're both getting on my nerves. Liam tried to reason with his father, but he soon realized it was futile. Liam headed to the kitchen to talk to his mother. Mom, Dad said I won't be getting any more money. How am I supposed to live? I'm still studying, and my savings are practically nothing. Does your father not know about your savings? She asked. No, Mom. He said that if you give me any money, he'll kick us both out onto the street. Let him try, his mother replied with a smile. Liam lingered in the kitchen for a moment before stepping outside. He wanted to meet up with his friends to see where they worked since he needed to figure out his own options. Today made it clear that his father was resolute and unlikely to change his mind. He arrived at the cafe where his friends had gathered and greeted everyone before sitting down at the table. All his friends were there, accompanied by their significant others. So, Liam, what's going on? Why do you look so down? One of his friends asked. I don't even know how to explain it. I just had a fight with my dad. He said he won't give me any money anymore. That's not a problem. You got credit cards, right? Just use those, and your dad will pay later. Liam suddenly remembered that he did have credit cards in his father's name. He smiled and pulled one out, heading to the bar to order a cocktail. Sorry, your card isn't working, the bartender said. The bank refuses to authorize your purchases. I see. Okay, I'll call the bank right now to find out what's going on. Liam fished out his phone and dialed the bank, only to learn that all the cards had been blocked by the account owner. Shock washed over him. Had his father really decided to cut him off for good? Returning to the table with his friends, he wore a glum expression, and they quickly grasped what had happened. Liam, you just need to get a job, one friend suggested. Where am I supposed to go? I'm still studying, he replied. So what? I'm also studying, but I work as a waiter at a cafe. Seriously? You have a job? But why? Liam asked, surprised. Your parents seem well off, right? Yeah, but why not on my own money? My parents don't give me that much, his friend explained. I don't know. It seems daunting since I've never worked before. It's not that hard. They'll teach you everything, the friend reassured him. I'll think about it, Liam replied, still uncertain. Liam didn't come home until morning, feeling furious. He was angry at his father for humiliating him in front of his friends. He rushed into his room and began searching for his gold cufflinks, expensive watch, and other valuable gifts his parents had given him. Liam decided to sell everything to get some money and rent a place far away from his father. He quickly packed his bags and hurried downstairs, only to bump into his father. Where are you going with that huge suitcase? Nathan asked. It's none of your business. You blocked my card. You might as well have suffocated me. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Well, consider this a gift. It's time you became a serious person. Dad, move aside. I don't want to see you again. I'll never step foot in this house again. Chloe dashed after Liam, desperate to stop him. She wanted to explain that Nathan had just overreacted and needed time to cool off. But her son was in no mood to hear any of it. Liam went to the pawn shop, leaving behind the treasures he had collected since childhood. The money he received was less than he expected, but it was enough to cover 2 months of rent and food. He rented a small apartment and decided it was time to find a job, eager to prove to his father that he could survive on his own. Pulling out his phone, he started searching for job vacancies, but every listing required experience. Liam had none. He sat for a while, then called his friend Ryan to ask where he had found his job. Ryan mentioned that he had gotten his position through connections and that it was tough to find something now. What do I do now? I can only afford to live separately for 2 months at most, and then I won't have enough money for food, Liam lamented. Listen, 2 months is a decent amount of time. I think your dad will come around and ask you to come back, Ryan suggested. I'm not going back. I'll find a job, and everything will work out for me. All right, suit yourself. If you need anything, just call me, Ryan said. Sitting on the couch, Liam felt lost about where to find work. He desperately wanted to show his father that he could earn money and live independently. Deep down, he was angry that his father didn't see him as an adult. He had even overheard his father talking with friends, expressing his doubts that Liam would ever amount to anything. Those words stuck with him, but he held on to the hope that he could still find a part-time job. After all, he was still in university, and he understood that his education was critical. What surprised him the most was that during this time, while he was living alone, his mother hadn't called him even once. He suspected that his father had forbidden her from doing so, knowing she was under his control. Today, Liam sat in class, stealing glances at Sophie, a girl his classmates constantly teased. She looked out of place, and many questioned what she was doing at such an expensive university. Sometimes, Liam found himself thinking that he might soon be wearing the same kind of cheap, tasteless clothes as Sophie. He really didn't want to end up like that, but everything seemed to be heading in that direction. During his break, his friend Ryan approached him. Listen, I can talk to my uncle. He's opening a new restaurant, and they need all sorts of staff. Are you suggesting I work as a waiter? Liam asked with a smile. Well, why not? Do you have a choice? No, there's no choice, Liam admitted. Just talk to him. I'm ready for any job. Okay, I'll let you know tomorrow what we agree on. He's coming to visit us today. Great. I'll wait for your news. On his way home, Liam couldn't shake the feeling that he never imagined he would be working as a waiter serving others. It was rather embarrassing, and he worried his friends would laugh at him. However, he knew that if he didn't find work soon, he might have to forego food entirely, as his money was quickly running out. His pride wouldn't allow him to call his father and admit defeat. The next day, Ryan brought Liam some important news. My uncle is willing to hire you. Oh, thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without you. Hey, do you want me to let you in on a secret? What secret? My uncle hired Sophie too. You know, the one who always looks like a ghost. She has some issues. I honestly don't know how she managed to convince him to hire her. Seriously? I'm going to work with Sophie, Liam exclaimed. Honestly, I'm not surprised. She definitely needs a job. When I see her, I realize I don't look nearly as bad, even in tough times. The next day, Liam showed up for the interview at the restaurant Ryan had mentioned. When he arrived, he saw Sophie. Hi, what are you doing here? He asked, pretending not to know she would be working alongside him. Well, I decided to take a part-time job, she replied. And you? I'm also looking for a part-time gig. I thought people like you never worked, she said, looking away and inadvertently offending him. People like me actually work quite a bit, Liam shot back. I see. Okay, I won't bother you then. Liam got hired for the job, just like Sophie, and suddenly they were colleagues. As they began working together, Sophie started to seem less dull to Liam. Of course, he had always been attracted to a different type of girl, but those girls had vanished when his funds dried up. Now Liam went to his new job every evening. The work wasn't too hard, and he didn't feel as exhausted as he had expected. One day, after finishing his shift, he got ready to head home. He quickly dressed and started for the exit when Sophie called out to him. Liam, wait! Please don't go anywhere. He stopped and turned back to her, noticing she was tying her scarf. What do you need? Could you please give me a ride? I need to get home urgently, Sophie asked. Well, I'm not in a rush today. Let's go, Liam replied, though he wasn't too keen on taking her anywhere. However, the look of panic in her eyes made him think something must have happened to her. Otherwise, why would she be asking for his help? As it turned out, Sophie lived almost at the opposite end of the city, and Liam found himself genuinely curious about how she usually made that trek. Sophie, how do you get here? There aren't any direct buses or subways, he inquired. I take 2 transfers just like I do to get to our university, she replied. Wow, I probably wouldn't bother traveling that far, Liam said. I don't have a choice, so I have to. It's cheaper to take public transportation, she smiled. Liam wanted to ask why she woke up so early and traveled such a distance, but he struggled to find the right words. So they continued the rest of the way in silence. Back at his apartment, Liam lay down on his bed, and Sophie revealed a different side to him. Beneath her awkward exterior, there was a charming girl. He couldn't stop thinking about her. He was genuinely curious about why she worked at the restaurant. Why was she attending such an expensive university while appearing so poor? She had so many secrets that he wanted to uncover. Now, every day, he rushed to work just to see her again. He no longer joined in on the jokes about Sophie with the other guys at the university. He even tried to defend her sometimes. Do you have nothing better to talk about? Leave her alone, he told his friend. Liam, I don't get it. Why are you suddenly defending Sophie? I'm not defending her. It just bothers me to see how you're treating her, Liam replied. Most of Liam's conversations were with Sophie at work. He found it fascinating that she was nothing like the girls he used to hang out with. He started to realize he was developing feelings for her, but he was afraid to admit it to himself. And he certainly had no idea how to tell her. One day after work, he lingered outside the restaurant. His shift ended an hour earlier than Sophie's, but he decided to give her a ride home to get to know her better. As luck would have it, Sophie emerged just as he was waiting and headed straight for the bus stop. She sped past him so quickly that he initially didn't understand what was happening. Sophie, wait for me, please, he called out. Liam, I'm listening. Just walk faster. If I miss the bus now, I'll have to walk home later. Then let me give you a ride. I've been waiting for you for a while, and I just want to talk today. Sophie smiled, and Liam felt a warmth spreading through him. Well, if you really want to give me a ride, I don't mind. She hopped into Liam's car, and they drove toward her home. Liam really wanted to tell Sophie that he hadn't been able to sleep for over a week without thinking about her, but he felt it would sound ridiculous, so he kept quiet. The best he could manage was to say that if she ever had time, he'd love to go out for coffee with her. Thank you so much. I didn't think you were such a nice person. You seem very different at the university, Sophie said, glancing at him before kissing him on the cheek and running home. As Liam drove back, the mark of her kiss lingered on his cheek, filling him with a good feeling. But once again, he couldn't sleep, his thoughts spinning around the girl. She was still a mystery to him. It was all quite strange. He had never felt this way before. At the same time, he was also embarrassed. He wondered how his friends would react if he started dating someone like her. Ultimately, he decided he didn't care about the opinions of others. A whole month passed, and he didn't even realize how quickly time was flying by. Liam received his first paycheck and was surprised. He could have easily spent that amount at a nightclub before. Now it was money meant to last him the entire month. He couldn't cook, so he often found himself eating at cafes, but he genuinely missed the home-cooked meals his mother used to make for him. Sometimes Liam would call her to check in, but she spoke to him timidly and kept repeating that his father was still angry with him. As for Sophie, Liam communicated with her frequently at the university. They often shared funny moments related to their work. Do you remember that client who was sitting by the window, stroking his belly? Liam reminded her, chuckling. Of course I remember. He's a funny guy in his own right, Sophie replied. Their classmates watched the two of them closely, puzzled by how close they had become. Why had they formed such a bond? This situation amused some, but made others, especially the girls Liam used to be close with, tense. They didn't like it at all. One day, as they left the classroom, Liam approached Sophie for help. Sophie, please don't think anything wrong. I have just no one else to turn to. You know my story. My parents rejected me, and I really don't know how to cook. Are you having trouble? She asked, her concern evident. Honestly, I'm exhausted. I keep going to cafes for lunch and dinner, and it's getting expensive. Do you want me to teach you how to cook? Sophie asked, her eyes widening in surprise. I'd love that. We also need to go shopping together, because I have nothing to cook with at home. Sophie looked at him, smiled, and agreed. She had also grown attached to him and couldn't imagine a day without him now. All right, I'll help you buy groceries and teach you something to cook on my next day off. They spent the evening in a grocery store, with Liam watching Sophie closely as she chose products. She read the ingredients and checked the prices, things he had never bothered to do. After they paid for their purchases, they loaded the heavy bags into the trunk of Liam's car and drove to his apartment. Liam, I'll show you how and what to cook, and then I'll head home right after, she said a little shyly. Sure, I'll take you home afterward, he replied. Liam spread the groceries throughout the refrigerator, and Sophie immediately began preparing the meal, starting with washing a huge pile of dishes. Liam sat at the table, carefully observing how she chopped vegetables, washed the meat, and prepared the borscht. He was so fascinated by the cooking process that he lost track of time. Well, that's it. You can try it now, Sophie said, smiling as she fixed her hair. I'm sure it's delicious. The smells were making me go crazy while you cooked, Liam replied, grinning. Sophie placed a plate in front of him. I think I'm going to ask for seconds. Yes, please. Take as much as you want, he laughed. After a hearty dinner, Liam began getting ready to take Sophie home. So, do you remember how I was cooking? Can you repeat it yourself? Honestly, I didn't remember anything. But at least now I know whom to turn to if I want to eat, he admitted with a chuckle. They both laughed and then stepped outside. It was late at night, and the air felt fresh. Liam had never noticed before how easy it was to breathe at night. Usually, he returned home at this hour from the club, not paying attention to these little details. Sophie, thank you so much for the most delicious dinner. I appreciate you being here with me, he said sincerely. She blushed sharply, clearly taken aback by his warm words. They drove slowly, not wanting to part ways. I probably should have confessed a long time ago, but honestly, I still don't know how to choose the right words. No need to pick anything. Just say how you feel, Sophie encouraged. Well, to be honest, I think I'm starting to like you. Are you serious? Or is this a joke? She asked, her expression a mix of surprise and skepticism. Of course I'm serious. Can I joke about something like this? I don't know, she replied as they arrived at her house. She quickly jumped out of the car and ran home, leaving Liam confused. He hadn't fully understood her reaction. She hadn't responded to his confession, and it felt awkward, as if his admission had spoiled her mood. The next day, Sophie looked completely different. She even wore light makeup. Listen, Liam, you suggested having coffee. Let's do it today after work, she said. With pleasure, he replied. After work, they sat in a cafe, sipping coffee and discussing various topics. Sophie confessed that she liked Liam too, and had for a long time. Yesterday's confession surprised her a little. Thus, the young couple began dating, and every day, Liam realized he had never truly loved anyone before. It felt like a fairy tale. They cooked together, and Sophie did everything to make Liam feel comfortable. He discovered that even without much money, happiness was possible. His life became noticeably brighter, and he felt loved. Was there anything else he needed for happiness? Then one day, everything changed. Liam, I think it's time for you to meet my mom. She's been pestering me with questions about where I disappear to all the time. Maybe we can go to my place tomorrow? Of course. Sounds great, he said. Awesome. Then I can stay over tonight, and tomorrow we'll go to my place. The next morning, Liam woke up early and rushed to the kitchen to make breakfast for Sophie. It was the first time he wanted to do something like that. Wow, is this for me? Sophie asked as she entered the kitchen. No, not for you. It's for the most beautiful girl in the world, he replied. Sophie wrinkled her nose playfully and kissed him. Liam, you need to understand me correctly. What's happening at my house might surprise you, but I hope you're a reasonable person and can keep it together. Are you trying to scare me? He wondered. I'm curious about what I'll see. Just wait until we get there, and you'll find out. As they got ready to visit Sophie's mother, who had raised her alone, Liam felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. What he saw shocked him. A very pale woman lay in bed, smiling weakly as soon as she saw Sophie. It was clear she was sick and unable to walk. "Meet my mom," Sophie said. Liam tried to smile, though he hadn't expected this. "Hello, I'm your daughter's friend," he said. "Yes, I've heard a lot about you," she replied softly. Sophie took Liam's hand and led him into her room. "Now do you understand why I work so hard and study so well?" "To be honest, no. I'm completely confused," he admitted. "University education is expensive. Where do you get the money?" "From my home. I see you're not wealthy. My father pays for my education. It's the only thing he's ever done for me. I work to save for her treatment, but it seems like an unattainable dream." "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier, Sophie? I could have helped you with something." "Oh no, I never want to ask anyone for help. I'll learn everything myself." Sophie told Liam how tough her life was, how she woke up early to avoid being late for work, and how hard it was to earn enough to get her mother back on her feet. After hearing her story, Liam was deeply moved. He spent a little more time with her before heading to the city. Not home, but straight to his father's office. "Hey, son, I thought you forgot you had parents," his dad joked. "Dad, you kicked me out," Liam replied, not wanting to argue. "What did you come here for?" "About the car I'm driving. You bought it for me, but it's registered in your name. I want to sell it." "Why? Life's really got you down?" his father chuckled. "No, I want to help someone who's important to me. My girlfriend's mother is really sick, and I want to support her. It's her dream to get her mother back on her feet." After hearing this, Nathan was shocked. He never thought his son would be capable of helping someone. "Son, I'll help you. You don't have to sell anything. Just tell me how much money is needed, and I'll pay for all the treatment. Forgive me for yelling at you so often. And anyway, come back home." "No, Dad, I'm not coming home. If you don't understand, I'm currently dating a wonderful girl. If everything goes well, we'll live together." "Son, you've grown up so much. You're not the same person who ran away from home with suitcases not long ago. It was probably not for nothing that I yelled at you. If I hadn't done all that, you'd still be sitting on my neck." "Well, that's not true, Dad. In due time, I would have become independent anyway. Come here. Let me give you a hug." They stood there embracing. Liam missed his father too, and sometimes he missed his sharp words. "I never believed until the very end that you would change. I was afraid you'd remain the same person who didn't care about anything, wasting your life on empty things," his father said. "No, I have changed. I'm an entirely different person now," Liam replied. His father smiled, having never seen his son so serious. Later that evening, Liam returned to Sophie and told her there was someone who could help. "Just tell me how much money is needed and where you're planning to receive treatment. We'll pay for everything, and it's not for you, it's for her." Sophie resisted for a long time, but eventually agreed on one condition. She would still repay the money. Sophie's mother was taken to the best clinic and began treatment. Improvement was noticeable, and after a month, the doctor said she would soon be able to stand on her own. Liam and Sophie started preparing for their wedding. Nathan felt deeply grateful to Sophie for changing his son. Liam was no longer interested in nightclubs or partying until morning. He got a job in his father's company. His values had shifted completely. He just wanted Sophie to smile and be happy every day, and he was ready to do whatever it took to achieve that goal.